Nice. Welcome everyone to the Polynesian Eyes podcast to this live digital Kava session. Today I am Aotearoa or Tomas Fale and Tua joining us today to give you this episode. Here in New Zealand, everything is going well. It's starting to get a little bit colder here in South Auckland, where I'm at, and but today is a nice, beautiful day. Tua, how's everything on your side of the woods?
Yeah, I got in late last night into Austin. Austin's about an hour and a half away. I've been in Vegas for work, and it's been a late arrival. I didn't get home till like maybe 1 o'clock in the morning.
Mm,
It's Friday today for us here in the northern hemisphere here, and I know for you, Musty, it's Saturday,
yep.
but we're excited to get the weekend started, and it's really good to be here. I guess people may have noticed we haven't been as active the last
Mm,
2 weeks. I guess we owe an explanation to all the
mm.
viewers and the listeners. Um, the headquarters of the Polynesian Eyes podcast will be relocating to Sin City, Las Vegas.
Oh yeah.
So, yes,
Everything happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, yeah?
yes, everything that happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. All right. Water Bears says, Malo
Hey, Water
Kautama.
Bears. Malo, malo.
Malo,
Thank you
Water
for coming.
Bears. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, so the update is I'm relocating to Las Vegas. So that's kind of the chaotic time frame
Mm,
that we're gonna be working through. Right. I'm gonna do my work week in Las Vegas. I'll have the weekends here. That's why we're able to do the live stream and run through it. And that'll be kind of our hit and miss and a little bit more chaotic. But once we finalize everything in Vegas, and settle down, we'll be a little bit more consistent.
yeah.
I know for a lot of our listeners on the podcast, on just the voice, we've neglected them the most. I'm gonna work
Mm.
on uploading some of our other live digital kava sessions so that they're continuing to have content to listen in. But that's kind of the big news, Mussy, here in
Nice.
HQ for the Polynesian Eyes podcast. We're really bummed to leave Texas. We are
Mm.
big Texas fans. Texas is by far my favorite state for many, many reasons. But hanggang ko lao, kumye mo uwi. Yeah?
Yep.
I'll get to
Yep.
get mari. Yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of the
No,
update from the US, Masi.
no, that's pretty cool, Tua. So and also that would also help with our time frame because you'll be closer to West Coast time instead of Central time zone. Yeah. So
Yes, that'll save us
nice,
2 hours. 2 hours
nice.
because Vegas is on Pacific time. So that will help, right? So it's not
Yeah,
as in the middle of the pong pongi, heng heng
yeah, yeah.
over here. But yeah, that'll be great. That's going to be great, Masi.
Very good. No, very good. And I just want to let all our viewers know that we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X, and Patreon. So you can get us from all of those platforms. And Tu and I, we got a good show for you all today and some various topics that we'll discuss and also have your guys' input by letting us know in the comment section. But yeah, Tua, what do you want to start off?
Yeah, before we jump into it, Wada Bear says,
Oh,
I
yeah,
love
way.
Vegas. Well, Vegas is Mako Vegas. You pick Wolfie Tapiki Vaini. Vegas Vaini. So it makes sense. How Wada
V
Bears?
Town. It's V
V
Town, yeah?
Town. Yeah, that's
V
the V
Town.
Town. It's V Town and the
Yeah,
LV Town.
yes.
Anyways,
Well, and that'll
Malo,
be
Water Bears.
yes, and that'll be good. I'm pretty sure there's probably a bigger population of Polynesians overall in Vegas, so they might see you around because now you're gonna be start making your way transitioning there to Las Vegas. So it's pretty awesome for
Yes, yes,
if some of our viewers kind of dwell there in Nevada, state of Nevada, in Vegas.
100%. 100%. The nickname for Polynesians, especially from Hawaii, is Las
Mm,
Vegas is the ninth island, right?
yep, yep.
That's the one thing that's dangerous. A lot of Polynesian food going on over there. So that's been great. Also, there is a Samoan ward. I looked online. There's a
Mm,
Samoan ward in Las Vegas, and there's a Tongan branch.
nice.
So, unfortunately, where I'm looking to purchase a house is on the far northwest corner. It's like the farthest I could be from these two walls. So we'll see if I'm able to convince the clan here to do a 30 to 40-minute drive when there's a chapel 2 miles,
Right.
a mile and a half away from the house.
Oh,
So
maybe we can talk about that a little bit too. What are some prospects that your top two prospects that maybe you and your family are looking for that potentially will be like your home in Vegas area? What's some of the places that you guys are thinking about?
yeah, so we're primarily looking the key areas we were looking was at Henderson, right? We've
Mm,
lived in Vegas before. We lived in the Henderson area that's kind of on the south. So we kind of familiar with that. We like that area.
yeah.
There's a high school there that's called Liberty. They do pretty well in football because of the Polynesian influence. They're pretty
Mm-hmm.
much there's Bishop Gorman, and if anyone's going to have a chance of challenging Bishop Gorman, it's Liberty, but it's still a big
Okay.
gap, right? It's still a big
Okay.
gap. So we're kind of looking there. We're also looking at schools on the west side in the Summerlin area.
Mm,
There's a decent Polynesian population there, but as some of the viewers may know and the listeners, my oldest daughter is a wrestler, and she found a school in the northwest corner of the valley that the girls team does really well in a ROTC program. That's really
mm,
well, and so she's really interested in those two things in a high school. So we're looking there. We put an offer in for a high school in the northwest corner. It's called Centennial High School, and so that's for academic and locations. That's one, right? The other thing we're
okay.
looking for, because it's hard to beat Texas in cost of living, and this is appropriate because a big portion of our program is going to talk
Cost.
about cost of living. The hard thing about moving to a place that's cheap and has lots of benefits in regards to business in a large city and convenience is when you're looking to move outside of that place, it's very
Yeah.
painful, right? And that's one of the bummers is we look at all these houses and stuff in Vegas and they're much more expensive. You know, gas here is like 250. Over there it's
Hmm.
$4, right?
What?
And
What's
yes,
going
and
on? What's going
exactly.
on?
So I'm like driving around and I'm like, my shit, I'm gonna miss filling up my gas tank in Texas. So that's another thing that's difficult. So
Mm,
looking at some of the houses, we're a big crew. There's 7 kids, right? So looking for a house that's big enough but doesn't blow up the bank account, that's a
mm,
little challenging. But we put in. I have a great realtor. It's actually a buddy of mine. He's actually like a brother to me.
mm.
Cole Bryan. He's our realtor in Texas. Found found a really good house. I think we spent that day looking at houses until like 11 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
very last house was like 35-40 minutes away. And we were like, "Ah, man, are we going to drive to this place?" Because we were all the way down in the Henderson, Liberty
Valley.
area
Mm,
looking at houses there. And the realtor goes, "Hey, man, there's this one house. I think it's worth it. Are you okay?" And we drove up. Perfect house, right within the budget area.
mm.
So we put in an offer, accepted it. So hopefully, if everything goes well, we'll pull the trigger and purchase the house here in the next 30 days.
Awesome. Awesome news, Tua. Awesome news. The whole tribe relocating to Las Vegas. But I'm
Yes.
pretty amazed. I'm pretty amazed that it's double. The $4 a gallon compared to
Yes.
Texas $2. That's that thing. I didn't know it was that huge of
Well,
a
and
gap.
and and even the house
Mm,
is almost double. The
okay.
same. I can't afford the same house I have here in Texas
Yeah.
over there in Las Vegas because
Okay.
it's literally basically just under double. And then where Water
Okay.
Bears is from, it's probably 3x, right? California is then even
Yeah.
worse than that, but it is what it is. Interesting
Yeah.
opportunity, so we're gonna head there.
Nice. Awesome, Tua. Thank you for that update.
No problem. We'll start with the first topic. So we got three major or four, but the last two are kind of connected. Quick review for the viewers and the listeners. First part, there's some interesting updates in Polynesian boxing that we're going to
Ooh,
walk through. We'll kind of do a quick discussion on the NRL in Las Vegas.
yeah.
I was able to be there very shortly. We'll kind of give some context to that. And then we're just going to talk about cost of living for Polynesians overseas, right? In Hawaii, and then also in New Zealand. It's quite a challenge in New Zealand as well. Um, but with that being said, let's start with the first one. And what's kind of the feeling, Masi, with Joseph Parker in Aotearoa, with everything that's gone with him? What's kind of the mood over there about him?
I think people were looking forward for his bout against Dubois. I think there were disappointment with Dubois pulling out because it was literally on that same week. So people were getting excited to watch that game here in or watch that fight here in New Zealand. So obviously it didn't go down, but I think now that the recent news that has come up that the WBO has kind of ordered Usyk to fight
Hmm.
Joseph Parker. I think there's another jump of excitement for the Polynesians and New Zealand overall. Looking forward for Joseph Parker to hopefully they get a deal and have that fight because that would be a massive fight and a huge opportunity for Joseph Parker to probably have the opportunity to be the first Polynesian to be undisputed because if he can beat Usyk and then
That'll
have
be
a
a big deal.
rematch, big deal because Usyk has been unstoppable against Tyson Fury and AJ, right? He's beaten them twice, and those were the top two kind of leaders of the heavyweight boxing. So if Joseph Parker pulls that, and then he's still relatively young, can fight Dubois if he still has the belt, he can probably be the first Polynesian to be undisputed. But there's some real excitement, especially that recent news of potentially fighting Usyk with that with that order from WBO organization to for them
Hmm.
to fight. So, but yeah, that's
Yeah,
I don't know about you. What do you think? What do you think of that potential fight
no,
and maybe the opportunity for Joseph Parker?
that's exciting, right? this
Mhm.
this kind of furthers that narrative, and we've mentioned it multiple times. There seems to be a surge of Polynesian influence in the culture
Yeah.
everywhere. um Boxing, I think Polynesians would have broken into boxing much sooner, but boxing, growing up on our parents' time frame, it was super popular, but it kind of died down, right?
Mm,
It's died down, and then it was mostly just rugby. But now there seems to be a turning of the corner. I think David Tua was kind of the front end of that. Then there's this other generation right after David Tua that was just like almost gonna break into it, right?
yeah.
And even before David Tua, you have was it Tony Fulilangi, I think was
Yeah.
his name. So you had a handful of people that just were about to break it. But then this generation that's coming up, you got Joseph Parker. You also got the Opetaya guy.
Yes,
We'll
he's
also talk
killing it.
about some
Yeah.
others. And yeah, so this is a very exciting time.
Mm,
And, at the forefront of it is Joseph Parker, right?
yes.
He is right
Yes.
now the
He's the
face,
driving
the
force.
face
Yes.
of Polynesian boxing. The Opetaya kid is almost there. He's got a lot of the belts, but he's in the cruiserweight,
Yeah.
right?
Doesn't get
So
too much. It's not too popular like the
it's not the
heavyweights
same like
or
heavyweight, exactly.
yeah.
But it looks like he's going to come up to heavyweight, and so now we're going to have at least two, and then we'll talk a little bit about Justice Huni coming up. So we may have three prime Polynesians at the top of the heavyweight division. It's not unreasonable to say, Masi, we might have a poly versus poly heavyweight championship bout
There.
in the next
Yes.
3 to 5 years. And that's
Yeah.
crazy to think.
That is. That is. No, and I was thinking too. Like heavyweight tends to eat up a lot of the popularity. But I'm thinking, man, during that era, um, Mayweather, Pacquiao, those were
Hmm.
still the top, right? That was unusual because there was a long time period that was the forefront
The
of boxing compared to
boxing.
the heavyweight. So
Yeah.
I feel like people follow wherever the I don't know. There's like a certain charisma because Mayweather was had his own charisma and his own way of attracting audiences to his fight. Pacquiao, he didn't really do much talking. It's more of his style
His
of fighting was
fights were
very attractive.
entertaining.
Yet his fighting. So I think there's a heavyweight tends to go because they're bigger, but boxing is one of those things that it just depends on your overall output and what you. It's almost like entertainment. Whoever provides the best entertainment, and Mayweather, has the talking. Even though they're very small guys, Oscar De La Hoya, some of these guys, they make a good product. So boxing's a unique sport that usually it's heavyweight because of more likely to get a knockdown and knockouts, but that's interesting that it reminds me of those other golden era of like Sugar Ray when during that
Yep.
time period of
The
the,
80s.
yes, that Mayweather and Pacquiao especially drove that during that time period. But it looks like the the needle has pointed back to the heavyweight, and a lot of the eyeballs are in the heavyweight division now.
Well, and a lot of it that we have to give credit to like Tyson Fury, right?
Mm,
Because him and Wilder, like that
yes,
was all
yeah,
the eyeballs were there. Then you had Usyk come up. Then even Joshua and what's the Mexican heavyweight, the Destroyer
Ruiz, yes, Ruiz,
Ruiz.
Andy
That
Ruiz,
was
yeah,
that was a shocking outcome, huge upset. So there's been a lot. The thing is, with Mayweather and Pacquiao, there was Marquez. There was a pool of talent, right?
yes,
Different, really good
Marquez,
fighters.
another good one, yeah,
The heavyweight for a long time, it just seemed to die out. You really didn't have any exciting personalities. Not a good pool. You need a handful of guys to really generate revenue and interest. And then you need some exciting fights.
yeah,
And there's been a lot of that. And Parker's coming up is going to be pretty exciting as well. Him knocking out the last guy he's fought. What was his name?
yeah. I
Um,
forgot his name. He was the right. He
the
was
replacement
the
for Dubois.
replacement. Yeah, I forgot his
But
name.
and I don't know what that guy was thinking because Parker looked huge, looked
Mm,
strong. He was like what 260,
yeah,
260 something, the biggest. And this guy decided just to try to walk him down. And I was like, okay, man, maybe if Parker was 220 or
yeah,
whatever, but him at 260 and looking confident, having a full training camp. hmm, no, we're looking back, and maybe that wasn't the best game plan. But let's
no,
let's react to this video about Usyk and Parker here real quick.
Let's now get you some updates from the world of boxing, where heavyweight champion Alexander Usyk has been ordered by the World Boxing Organization to begin negotiations for a mandatory title defense against the WBO interim.
Oh, what is going on? Sorry.
no. Okay,
Technical
I have a W-2 and a
difficulties.
1099,
it
and I
happened.
spoke
It
with
happened.
Let's see here.
Heavyweight champion Alexander Usyk has been ordered by the World Boxing Organization to begin negotiations for a mandatory title defense against the WBO interim champion Joseph Parker, a decision that could end Daniel Dubois' hopes of a rematch with the Ukrainian. The WBO announced on Thursday that Usyk, who also holds the World Boxing Council and World Boxing Association belts, has a period of 30 days to reach terms for a mandatory title defense against New Zealand's Parker, or the governing body will call for purse bids. The Parker defended his WBO interim title in Riyadh last month against Martin Bakole, a late
Bakole.
replacement after Dubois withdrew because of illness. The Dubois was not looking to reschedule that fight and was hoping for a return clash with Usyk, who defeated the Briton in August 2023. And after Usyk beat Tyson Fury in a rematch in December to retain the unified WBC, WBA, and WBO championships, Dubois, in fact, entered the ring and then interrupted the London 2012 gold medalist interview to demand a bout. But it appears that Parker, who held the WBO title from 2016 to 2018, has on a 6-fight winning streak, has overtaken Dubois as the next contender to face Usyk. For all the latest news, download the Vion app.
Interesting. What are your thoughts,
Very
Masi, to
interesting.
that?
No, I think that's exciting. I hope they can come with a deal and make it happen. It'll be an interesting fight because I know Usyk has fought guys that are much bigger than him, taller wise, and I think he has an advantage. So I'm interested in this fight because they're relatively about the same kind of built and size
Hmm.
wise, and I wonder if that will make a difference in the whole, how he approaches this fight. But great, massive opportunity for Joseph Parker to make something out of this because you get the WBO, even though it's a WBO fight, but he would also get the other two other heavyweight belts if he loses. If Usyk
He beats,
loses,
yeah.
yeah. So massive opportunity. I don't know what you think fight wise if this were to happen.
I mean, I still think, as much as I want Parker to win, I still think he's the heavy underdog,
Mm. Under
right?
yes, for sure, for sure.
But that's what makes it exciting, man. This is the heavyweight division. Everybody thought that Bacole was gonna, if he was gonna win, if someone was gonna win by knockout, it was gonna be Bacole. And then what happened?
Yeah.
Parker knocked him out, right?
Mm.
It, to me, it's gonna be still be a challenge, even though there's the most of the challenges that Usyk has been bigger guys, but he's also been in the cruiserweight for a long time.
Yeah.
So he's
Yeah.
very comfortable with guys not as big.
Hmm.
And Usyk is just a special fighter right now, but we'll see who's the best fighter at the night, because you only got to
That's
beat
right.
him that night. He could
Yeah.
have beaten you every day before and every day after, but there's a reason why you have to be the best on that night. And I'm excited. I think this is a huge, huge deal for the popularity of the sport with Polynesians.
Mm.
You're starting to see more NRL Polynesian guys kind of dabble into
Yes.
boxing a little bit, some unsuccessful, some mediocre success. But I think this is going to be a really positive thing to attract more Polynesian athletes, hopefully into boxing even
Mm.
more. And I'm excited to see that. And with that being said, um, do you have anything else to add to that, Masi?
I don't know. I'm thinking. Well, I have a question for you too. Who'd probably be your top three Polynesian all-time boxers ever right
For
now?
me, number one is the easiest right now. It's just got to be David Tua.
Yeah.
I really think David Tua, if he didn't run in to those legal and kind of, I don't want to say personal, because it wasn't really family, it was trainer issues in the middle of his prime, right?
GM, general
Yes.
manager issue. Yeah.
I think if David Tua didn't have that, easily would have been a heavyweight champion, right?
Mm.
I know he
Mm.
had a couple shots, didn't quite make it, but dealing with those things on the side and fighting, very difficult. And then to be withdrawn from the sport at the highest level to deal with those issues. Um, Tua is my number one, and then it's hard to get around that. Parker is up there. You have to
Mm.
consider Parker in the top three, and then Opetaya. Can't
Yeah.
ignore that. Um, that would be kind of where I'm leaning right now. What are your thoughts? Who are your top three
Ooh.
Polynesians?
Number one is David Tua. I agree with you because I think David Tua, even though he didn't get the belt, he was a very exciting fighter to watch. Like people love his
Yeah,
style of especially that left hook
left hook.
KO out of nowhere. And not only that, like he's never been knocked down. When I looked some of the history, he's never been knocked out. I think knocked out. He's never been knocked out because he's such a resilient and strong fighter. So he can give a punch and take a
Take a
punch.
hit. Yeah.
Yeah. So him, but he's my number one right now. But I feel like when Joseph Parker is done, it's going to be hard to argue that he's going to probably potentially be a two-time and most likely have the opportunity to be a undisputed if he's
If he
going
pulls that
to the
off, he's probably gonna go to straight to the top.
yes, he's going to go to, he's going to be the number one. But right now I have David Tua at number two, um Joseph Parker, but when he's done, potentially go number one. And number three, I'll probably put Baya Wolfgram being
Mm,
underdog and winning
mhm.
a silver medal when he was not even in the top five in the heavyweights during that time, and for him to pull that off, pretty big deal. and kind of really was in the time where boxing was very relevant in the Polynesian island. So those are probably my top three of Polynesian all
Okay,
time.
that's
Yeah,
fair. That's fair.
yeah.
Speaking about kind of the growth and the popularity of boxing um, in our Polynesian areas, is this is exciting right here. I want to read that out, Mussy, just so when we publish this on
Mm,
the audio only, they can hear it.
yeah. Joseph Parker is planning to create a boxing academy in Samoa with the help of David Tua and Jay Opetaya to bring Samoans great boxers. Very awesome. Very awesome,
Dude,
Tua.
that is crazy awesome,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like when we're talking about these guys kind of being the tip of the spear, if they pull through with this,
Mm,
we should be very comfortable in saying Samoa in the short term, 5 to 8 years from now, if they are able to do this and have kids, let's say you're a kid right now that you're 8, 9 years old right now, right?
yeah.
You get into that 8 years from now, you're 18, 19, 17-year old, you go professional, going through their program where they've been teaching you from a young age, training, getting exposure to different ways of thinking, strategies, and maybe even
Mm,
taken to Australia, New Zealand, possibly the US to go to some of these amateur boxing, maybe even go to the Olympics.
yeah,
I think there could
yeah,
be a very interesting pipeline of fighters coming out of Samoa because the raw talent
yeah,
is there, right?
yeah.
You just got to connect the talent with the infrastructure and the knowledge base, and these three guys bring those three things to the raw talent in Samoa. So I'm pretty
Yes.
pumped. I think this would be pretty cool.
Yep, and just to add along with that too, and I probably push it a bit further. I would encourage if you can identify, if they set this up right, and let's just say they have potential recruiters, and they spot a talent from a kid from Tonga, like as a parent in Tonga or your Tongan kid, this will probably you probably have to go to Hamoa to get the best kind of training. So you can
Yeah,
really, this will be the
HQ in
ha-
Polynesia.
HQ of Polynesian boxing talent to
Yeah,
harvest and harness that group and probably prepare them for most likely will be the Olympics and then shoot off professionally because you know if this is the whole setup, this can really go far. So this will be the place that everyone will go to pursue boxing, a boxing
well,
career.
and hear what's crazy, right? You mentioned in our discussion offline who just moved full time to Samoa,
David Tua.
David
Yep.
Tua. So you
Yep.
got the right guy on the ground, right?
Yep.
You have these two guys who are making significant amount of money, and to run a program in Samoa,
Yeah.
dirt cheap.
Yep.
Dirt cheap. There's ways that you can maximize the investment dollars into this boxing program that they're looking to build, right?
Mm,
I mean, and then you have Parker and Opetaya as they're going overseas, going on these big fights. As a boxer comes up, give them some exposure in the undercard, right? When they go
mm,
pro. But I agree with you 100%. This could be the headquarters for the Polynesian boxing
yep.
in Polynesia. And I agree 100%. If I'm living in Tonga, even
Yep.
Fiji, anywhere, if I'm living
Yep.
anywhere nearby Samoa and I'm serious about boxing and this thing becomes a reality and it's structured correctly, you would have to heavily consider going to Samoa to participate because it's just a huge opportunity.
Yep. Yep. Agree. And I would even argue if that this goes really well, the Polynesian kids that are here in New Zealand and even Australia, this is
Might
I
go
don't know if
back.
you can get yeah, I don't know if yeah, because the access to you're getting like top fighters of the past with David Tua and now with Opetaya and Parker, and especially them being serious to build this thing. It's an awesome opportunity to really find out where you're at in the boxing and if this is something you want to pursue to make a living.
100%. And kind of the last thing to kind of mention is this other Polynesian heavyweight who's making a few waves now, not as big of a wave as Parker, but pretty significant waves. And this is Justice Huni, who WBO has just ranked as number 1 in the
Nice.
world. So this if he keeps winning,
Hmm.
maintaining that, and Parker or Opetaya win the heavyweight titles, we could literally have a all poly heavyweight championship bout, which could
Will be
be
awesome.
awesome,
Super awesome. Oh,
right?
and to be held in Las Vegas. Oh,
Yeah,
we're going.
way.
We're
Las
going to your place. We're going to your
Yes,
place in Vegas too, eh?
yes. We're going to my garage and we'll have the live digital Gava session out of my
Oh,
garage in Las
oh,
Vegas.
that's the one. That's the one. But Tua, maybe you can. I haven't been following Huni too much because, like you said, he's kind of fighting in the background, working his way up to reach to the number one position. Now, now with this number one, I probably will see a little bit more of him on the TV and stuff of guys that he's fighting. But do you know how he's like? What's his plans for this year kind of thing of like any setup fights that he has planned or anything?
No, I'm not aware of any major fight because the guy, he's been patient. I think he's been doing it right. Right?
Okay.
He hasn't jumped the gun.
Yeah.
Some people, once they get like a string of wins, they want to jump automatically to the big fights. I think he's done it right. He's been challenging people in Australia, kind of like I think from Africa and some other
Mm,
places. And he has shown in all of those, right? He
yeah.
looks bigger. His hand speed, it looks faster, power, crisp. And so I think within his next 2 fights, he's probably going to make a pretty big jump in the competition level.
Mm,
And I think he's done it right. He's positioned himself well because there's a lot of big names like we talked about earlier, right?
yeah.
There's all these
Yeah.
big names out there with Fury, what is it?
AJ,
Zhang,
Andy,
AJ,
Zhang. Yeah.
exactly. All these big guys, let them fight each other, have some attrition. He just builds himself up, and at the right time,
Mm,
maybe it is a Joseph Parker. Because I'll tell you this: Huni against Usyk, I'm not as confident, but
mm.
Huni against Parker, I think Huni has a decent shot. Right? Just
Okay.
when you look
Okay.
at
So the gap is
experience,
the gap is
yes,
not that big, huh? So the gap
yes.
is not that big.
and
Okay.
and and like they always say in boxing, it's about the style, right?
Mm,
And Huni is a very compact. He throws good 3, 4, 5 punch combinations, moves around. And Parker is not like a Usyk who's like a high volume, high
yeah.
movement, right? And I think
Mm.
that would be a good style between them if things were to line up. Let me look into the comments real quick, Mussy, before
All
we
right.
get
All right.
too
Go for it.
far.
Yeah. Go for it. Go for it.
Oh Yahweh, Nacho is here. He
Hey,
says, "Oh
Nacho,
yeah,
Malo,
Malo Kautama, welcome, Nacho." He finished his 7-11 run. He came back to
San
the show.
Bernardino in the house, Maria, Nacho.
Yes, 100% agree. Nacho Justice Huni is a real deal, and I think
Okay.
he's
Okay.
developing nicely. I really like.
Not
I don't know.
rushing.
Yes, I don't.
Marinating. He's a marinade. He's just letting it marinate
Yes,
for a little
it's
bit.
gonna have all the flavor when it's time to shine. I don't know who's his managers and stuff, but I
Okay.
think I think they're doing a real good job. Daniel Maffeo says
Oh,
Huni is fire,
what's up, Daniel?
and he also mentions been to 2 of his fights. More Tongans need to go support our Tongan boxers and get into the sport. 100%, Daniel
Mm,
Maffeo. We were talking about that. That there seems to be a wave of Polynesian boxers coming through in this generation that we not only need to support them, but kind of do things and even support like we're seeing what you call Parker and Opetaya, even though it's going to be in Ha'amoa, but we need to support that because that gives opportunities for the Tongan boxers, not just in Tonga, but like you said, Masi, Australia, New Zealand, to
yeah.
go to Ha'amoa and get that top level training, top level knowledge, and then just somewhere where you're just focusing on boxing.
Yeah.
But yes, Huni is is I think he's the real deal, man. I think in like 3 years, 2 to 3 years, he's someone that could very easily be multi-belt champion.
Nice. No, I was gonna ask Mafileo. With the, I think, do you think that could be? Are they promoting? Because, like I said, for me, I haven't seen too much promotion, Mafileo, of Justice Huni's fight. So it could be, it could be a promotional and a budget thing to try to get that exposure. Because for me, I really don't know where he's fighting, who he's fighting, kind of thing. So I wonder if that's a promotional thing, Mafileo. But hey, that's pretty awesome that you're there to support Huni, man. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. So that pretty much closes out kind of like our boxing segment here, Masi. Pretty exciting. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a more exciting time for Polynesian boxing.
It's been a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so any kind of closing thoughts on that, or we should get into the next segment here?
No, I think I agree with you, Tua. The next couple years is definitely going to be an awesome time to, if Huni still gradually gets better, and then let's just say Opetawa makes that jump to heavyweight, and then maybe Parker, if he does have all the belts, man, you can see this Polynesian Fury going for the top belt. So, hey, I'm excited to see what the future holds for Polynesian boxers, man. But pretty excited.
Yeah, I'm really pumped like you are in that aspect, and I think you covered that well. And then just to re-emphasize what they're planning to do to invest
Yes.
into Ha'amoa for that academy, dude, that's huge,
That
right?
is
Not just
huge.
for Ha'amoa, but the whole Polynesian and just Pacific in general. And I think you brought up a really good point too, Masi, for New Zealand and Australia as well,
Yeah.
right? This
Yeah.
is huge what they're looking to do over there.
Mm.
All right. So the next segment we're going to go to is the NRL visit here in Las Vegas. Obviously, kind of disappointing. The Warriors got smashed. I was
They
hoping
got
they would.
killed. But
Yes, I was
they
hoping they would
redeemed
do better.
themselves. They won this week. So they
They won
redeemed
this
themselves.
week, so okay,
Yeah.
that's a little bit better, right? That was like last year. They won, they came real close to getting to the playoffs,
Yeah.
but they did it,
Real
right?
close. They did it. Yeah.
But what's been kind of been the buzz over there in New Zealand, Mussy? Has there been any discussions? Anybody said anything about what their views are, perspective of how successful or interest in the NRL in Las Vegas? What any kind of feedback from your neck of the woods on that?
No, there was just a lot of excitement on, especially focus on the Warriors, because the Warriors were, the team from New Zealand that went to Vegas. Warriors, the Las Vegas probably atmosphere and the hype probably dented on the Warriors team overall, and that's why maybe their output wasn't as good, and it was a poor showing. But when they came back, they did really well here. But I think for me, maybe there's a few certain people who are just fans of the NRL overall are excited with the positive numbers. Just as we're going to go through the article here, that there was an increase of viewership within the United States in year two of the NRL showing is it year? Yeah, this is their second year, right, Tua?
Yeah, this is year
Of,
two.
showing. So they got three more years to kind of showcase the NRL. So it's building momentum, and that's all you can ask for, especially in breaking into a very difficult sports market in the U.S. So I think they're, just by the numbers wise, they're doing really well. So I don't know about you, Tua, but I know you were there. How did the
Yes.
people look like? How was the stadium and the NRL just being there in Vegas? What were your thoughts?
The couple things from my perspective, I was there. I was there for 40 minutes, right?
Hmm.
This is kind of a funny story before I give my reaction.
All right.
I planned to be there over a year ago. I didn't know we were going to move to Las Vegas, right? And then once I knew I was moving to Las Vegas, we decided to use that trip to go look at houses, right?
Yeah.
And then my wife was going on a trip to Ireland. And so I was first intending to spend that whole Saturday and then fly back that Sunday to Texas. But then my wife had to fly to Ireland or head towards Ireland Sunday morning. So I couldn't stay for the whole game. Shout out to Bill Ungrich, great brother of mine from our UVU days and also at BYU. Got us some tickets. Masi,
Yeah.
sixth row from the center of the field. We were
Pretty
right
cool.
there. Man, it was awesome seats. Great to see.
Mm.
So I really appreciate Bill for sharing
Nice.
those tickets. But a couple observations. The excitement of the fans while I was there was awesome, right?
Mm.
And you had the English fans in the two end zones cheering for their teams, singing songs. Granted, they weren't as big as the Red Wave, right? Or
Yeah.
the Red Sea, but the passion was there, the excitement was there. The other thing, probably the most amount of fans, if I were to look at all the different fans, were the Warriors. That was one
Yeah.
thing that stuck
There's a
out to me. There
yeah.
were more Warrior fans than any of the other teams that I saw there, right?
Mm.
When I got on everywhere I went, when we were at the Austin airport, on the flight from Austin to Vegas,
Warrior fans.
7 or 8 NRL guys that were heading to the game,
Okay. Okay.
right? So you get off at the airport, walking around the airport, you see NRL attire, and you're like, wow, like there is a good visibility. You know what I mean? It's
Mm.
not like, it's you go there, you don't see anyone till you go to the stadium. Everywhere I was kind of going, you always see a handful of people that you knew were there for the games. So that did catch my attention. And then I did feel like when you look at the pictures and the video, there were more people there this year than
Yeah.
there were last year in the stands.
Mm.
So I thought honestly, this was definitely a positive thing. As a person going to the stadium, one of my concerns when you host it at such a massive stadium like the Raider Stadium, you
Mhm.
could have a good turnout, but because the stadium is just so big, the
Yeah.
atmosphere just kind of lacks a little bit. You're
Mm.
like,
Mm.
instead of if you had a 40,000 stadium and you
Yeah.
filled it up, or like a 30,000 and you filled it up, the atmosphere is great, right?
Mm.
60 plus and you only have 20,000 people, it still feels not as
Mm.
positive of an experience. But my time there, I thought, you know what? This is positive, and this is an experience that I would say I want to come back to next year.
Yeah.
That's what you want. You want anyone who goes there to want to come back and plan to come back, and then you need to attract more people every year and build. Because, like you said, this is a very difficult market to break into,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
Because Americans have a very high standard for sports and the quality of the sports. They will watch it if
Mm.
you produce the quality. And here's a prime example: the women's college basketball and the WNBA, right?
Yes. Yeah.
When Caitlin Clark shows up and she's delivering the product, they
Yeah.
will show up,
Yeah.
right? But you're not going to get the American fan base who has an expectation of what good looks like, and you just show up and give a mediocre product. Let me put it this way: if you're getting a product that even a rugby nation doesn't want,
Yeah.
don't think that a football, basketball, baseball, hockey at the highest level in the world, you're going to come with a mediocre rugby product and attract fans. So I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty pumped. I think the NRL has the right approach, in my opinion. They're not doing we're going to do this for 1 or 2 years, and if we don't have mega numbers, we're pulling out. I think a minimum of 5 years investment is what they have to do, and I think
Yeah.
that's what they're doing. And I think they keep this momentum. It's positive from year to year. I think there could be something interesting. Oh, the other thing I saw, Masi,
What's up?
on my way flying out,
Hmm.
I saw a couple athletes that had NRL combine jerseys,
Ah. Okay.
So and it had like the UFC on it as well, the UFC
Yeah.
logo. So they must have had some kind of combine or some
Mhm.
kind of bringing together of athletes for NRL scouting.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that that was happening, but I saw a couple athletes at the airport that had those
They were,
jerseys on, and I was like, oh Yahweh, they must have
that's good.
had like a mini combine
No,
going
that
on.
makes sense because wasn't there like a Tongan lady that used to play for the USA a little bit, and then she got picked up from these NRL
Yes,
combine and is playing for the
yes,
women's
last year,
NRL team
last year.
last year. So that's
Yep.
pretty good. They're still doing that just to build some of the, you know, in America there's a lot of athletes who fall in the cracks or because they can only take very few. So
Yeah.
I'm glad some of these people are getting picked up. So hey, awesome, awesome for the game. And like I said, keep that momentum, right? It's a 5-year plan. If you can just keep that momentum going, that's really good news.
Yeah. So we're going to read through just some of the data points on this article. Um, I'll read through the first parts here, Mussy, and then we can just kind of
Okay.
walk through it. Sound good?
Yep.
Okay. It says more than 3 million viewers in the United States, Australia, and New Zealand tuned in to the opening 2 matches of the NRL season at Allegiant Stadium as new broadcast records were set across the game. That's
Nice.
all you have to be able to say. We did a little bit better than last year.
Hmm.
That is a positive thing.
Hmm.
And I think that's a big deal. It continues to say, in further proof that rugby league's globalization strategy is already paying off, after just the second year of the NRL's Vegas venture, viewership in the US increased more than 600% on the 2024 season opener. With
Nice.
with exposure on the Fox network driving unprecedented viewership in the US, the Raiders Warriors match attracted an average US audience of 371,000. In
Mm.
comparison, last year's Sea Eagles Rabbitohs match drew an audience of 61,000
Yeah. Yeah.
in
It's
the
an
United
increase.
States. What's your thoughts, Masi? This is pretty sweet.
Yeah. No, I mean that's right. Like what you said, if you're improved, that's 61,000 compared to this year. That was last year to this year 371. That's a good significant jump. So, the next goal would probably be 500,000 or more. Like just always get incremental um better. So I mean, they're the momentum they're doing the right things in my opinion. The numbers are saying that. So,
Yeah,
you know.
100%. You want to read this little section right here, Masi, and just end with the numbers down there?
All right. So is it the
Yeah.
371,000? The 371,000 average viewers on Fox was up 86% on Fox previous rugby telecast performance of 200,000 viewers for the Major League Rugby Championship. With Watch NRL streaming, these numbers increase even further.
So
The
that doesn't
Panthers,
include
yeah,
any online streaming, huh? Go
yeah,
ahead.
not bad, not bad. The Panthers Sharks match outperformed average viewership on FS1 in 2024 by more than 100%, with 33,000 viewers compared to 16,000 for last year's Roosters Broncos fixture. In total, last weekend's 2 NRL matches were watched by viewing audiences of more than 2 million in Australia, more than 400,000 in the United States, more than 600,000 in New Zealand. The stunning broadcast figures in the US, Australia, and New Zealand follow last year's record season for NRL crowds viewers, which was kickstarted by the season opener in Las Vegas. So there's a trickle
Man,
effect, huh? With
yes.
having the opener in Vegas, there's like a trickle effect with fans turning up and the viewership going up all across
Yeah.
New Zealand and Australia.
Quick question, Masi. You know, what makes you think, or what do you think is like on the side of NRL to continue this momentum for the American viewer? Why do you think that they have a good shot and possibly cracking the American market that everybody's been talking about, right?
Yeah,
You have World Rugby sending the All Blacks, sending Ireland, having these multiple efforts at like the Chicago Stadium. It's
yeah.
done good, but they haven't quite
Not
cracked the
lasting,
code. Yeah.
not enduring.
What
Yeah.
what do you think are the probabilities, or what chance does NRL have of cracking the US market?
Well, I think that there's a lot more similarities, right, with the NRL way of playing rugby. It's a lot more. I think it's a much more attractive to the U.S. audience. Just it's easy. It's very hard, right, to educate a new sports fans into a sport. So I think NRL knows if they can just close the gap and just the more you can play, like 5 year, right, 5 year game plan to hopefully get a certain. I think they're trying to it's just 1% to a right. They're just trying to get at least to that close to that 1% and set something. And not only that, I think if you can attract, let's just say, if you get a multi-millionaire, $1 billion or a billionaire person that's interested to buy a franchise in Australia, that could set off some kind of right because the NRL model is very close to a franchise or to
Yep.
running a NBA, NFL, and if you get like a billionaire in the US that's willing to buy the team. When they buy the team, they're investing their time. Who knows if with their friends and their network that they can maybe have like a instead of doing the opener season, they're probably gonna start attracting doing the opener mid-season and a like a last finale season or something. There's gonna be if you can attract quite a few interests through that network, I think it's possible. And then maybe having somebody to try to generate or create a franchise in the US with maybe getting players throughout the world. Because right now, like you said, we had the UK there. You can also
Mhm.
attract players from there. And I feel like, right, we kind of mentioned it earlier in our earlier episodes between union and league, whichever cracks into the US market, the other one's going to be non-existent. It's going to be non-existent. So the NRL, I think, are having a much more better game plan instead of having a one-off series that the union tends to do in the US. That's not long and it's very difficult to get the fans to keep watching your product. But like you said, Tua, you felt like this year was a lot more people than last year, and that's all you can ask for to try to build a new game in America. But I don't know what if you had anything else, but like what are you seeing with the NRL approaching
Yeah,
to
I
try to
mean,
make their game have interest in America?
for me, I'm a little biased, right? Because I played rugby league in Tonga. And,
Yeah.
I remember the days where I would watch the Rugby World Cup for rugby league, and there would be maybe one or two other people with me interested to watch
Mm,
it, right? Because
mm,
everybody was about the rugby union. Now it's
yeah.
kind of done a 180.
Yeah.
And this comes back to, and I think you are a fan of this, Masi. Rugby league is a lot, and you mentioned it. Rugby league is a lot closer to the American perception of the superstar on the team,
Yeah.
right? Like everyone on the NRL teams, everybody already knows like who's the top paid athlete, who's the most popular athlete, and who is going to make big moves in the off seasons because this team needs a power of a superstar forward, right? Or they need a superstar back. And
Yeah.
the US consumer of sports understands that, right?
Yeah.
And so they like that. The fact that NRL is already kind of geared towards having your superstars, right? And
Mm-hmm.
having them in the news and recognizing them. Um, and then the fact that the sport is a lot simpler than rugby union. Rugby union is a lot more technical. It's an acquired taste,
Yeah.
right? It's an acquired taste. You have to develop, invest a lot of time and energy. Rugby league, very viewer friendly, right? You
Mm,
can understand it very quickly. It's very simple. It's fast moving. And this is another observation that I had from going to the game. Rugby league players are built like what an American would expect a professional athlete to look like. That's one
mm,
of the things that I've always noticed that kind of I was reminded of. You see a rugby union player,
yeah.
they're not built with muscle and mass, right? Because you don't that's not what you always need because there's so many different ways to win, right?
Yeah.
The strategies and skills. Rugby league, yeah, you could be the fastest, you could be the whatever, but there are times where you need ground and pound and we just
Mm.
need you to run straight because we got to complete a set and we just need the meters, right?
Yep.
And so that was the thing that stuck out to me when I saw the English guys come out. I was like, oh, you look like an athlete. There's been
Mm.
plenty of All Blacks I've run into in person and a little underwhelmed, right? Where
Yeah.
you're like, you are the big
Yeah.
deal in rugby union, but when I look at your body, it doesn't look like it, right? Like when you run
Mm.
into an NFL athlete,
Mm.
you know that body has millions of dollars poured into that body,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so I think there's a lot of positive things. And then the fact that they partnered with the UFC, I think there might be something working in the background there,
Mm.
especially now that the UFC, Dana White, just made an agreement with was it TKO and also one of the Middle East billionaires starting
Oh
a new
wow.
boxing league,
Oh
right?
yes, he did mention something about that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. I could possibly seeing that being duplicated in a NRL or a rugby league scenario where you have someone like Dana White who
Mm.
could lead the advertising, the exposure. You have the money backing from the Middle East or some rich billionaire, like you're
Yep.
saying, and then someone who can also give access, whether it's the NRL itself to kind of give access to different media and other markets outside of the US. But I think rugby league by far is better suited for the American market than rugby union. Um,
Yes.
and so I
Yeah.
think if the right conditions and the NRL is persistent, I think these 5 years is a test case for them to gather the data and then go to like a billionaire, like you said, and say, hey, back us. Look at what we did in 5 years. Back us
Hmm.
and let's make this happen.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and those, and I think when they get into the U.S. market too, and just have somewhat of a following there, and there'll be positive changes. Like the NRL are willing to, because like you said, the American consumers of sports, they love they love their superstars. Like having names in your back is gonna probably be NRL is probably most likely gonna make that change. You know, probably being a lot more friendlier with the yellow card calls that maybe instead of losing your red card, you get yellow card, you have a substitute coming. Like there's a lot of things that are NRL are willing to change that union is finding very difficult to change, and you can see it with where the game is at with both those rugby codes. That league is a lot, it's a lot where the excitement is at. You even watch the Warriors games, there's a lot more people going to the Warriors games. Super rugby, they're that's almost like second tier. It's almost like if, yeah, if I'm available kind of thing. It's not the
Yeah,
forefront of someone planning. So hey man, so NRL, they're you know they're making the right steps, man.
not 100%. Exciting. We'll keep tracking it, see if
Yep.
that continues to improve. Moving on to the next segment, and this is kind of our last two segments will focus on cost of living, right?
Mm,
This is something that I think is important to understand and to our people. We usually are larger families. We are
yeah.
multi-generational living and you know a lot of the fa'alave and the kaveinga, right?
Yeah.
The economy and the cost of living is a big deal for our people because we aren't just looking at our little nuclear family and our little world. We are much more of a extended family experience, and not just extended family but extended community through the
Yeah.
church, where there's whakaafes or big
Yeah.
feasts and weddings, funerals. We're very integrated, and so we do seem to kind of like, I guess you could look at it and say we react maybe a little bit better to some of those changes, but it still impacts the whole community at large. So I wanted to watch first is video, and this is, I guess, kind of interesting because of with the whole Doge thing and government
Hmm.
inefficiency. But this is a video from Hawaii um, about an agency in Hawaii that's called the Hawaiian Homelands Department of Hawaiian Homelands where they're kind of issuing out land. And
Okay.
listen to this and how kind of crazy this sounds. So, kind of, I guess, before we jump into it, Masi,
Yo.
going to high school in Hawaii, living there, kind of give what the next generation of young people who grew up in Hawaii, the challenge they face if they want to stay in Hawaii, and
Mm,
why the majority of them have to leave Hawaii, even though they don't want to, right? They don't want to leave, but they still have to. They feel like there's no real opportunity. But kind of give to the viewers the background context on that.
yeah. So a lot of the young people in Hawaii, like you mentioned too, they want to make a living and stay in Hawaii, but Hawaii, to my understanding, Tua, especially on Oahu, the average home price, we're talking about at least $1 million. And we're saying
Yeah,
$1 million, and we're
a
talking about a
shack.
million, uh, one bathroom, 3 bedroom house. Like that's the kind of $1 million we're talking about in
And
Oahu. And
not
then
even like a high end one bathroom,
yes,
one bedroom, right? This is
yes, it's just a
basic,
very
very
basic.
basic.
It's just for your basic needs, and that's what you're getting. And not only that, Hawaii, just like a lot of the Polynesian communities, you tend to live with a lot of extended family, right? So when you're you know trying to make a living there, there's the space, and to acquire further property in Hawaii is very difficult. So many of the people have to go to the mainland and kind of start a career. And that we're talking about like just working, just a trading job, and they can make a good living off of that. And they're most like what you said, most of them have made that venture in Las Vegas, and they're
Yep.
doing really well. And this is the dilemma that happens here, right? So all the kids start going to mainland, and let's just say the parents are starting, in their 70s, 80s, they pass away, right? So what happens? It's either that kid comes back and they take over the home where the parents used to live, and then they make the move there. But many of the young people, they've married people from the mainland. Their kids already ingrained and
Comfortable.
comfortable going to school there. So many of them just end up selling that, and then when they sell that, it's more at a high end cost, because the just like everything in Hawaii, your value of your property keeps going up. So they sell that, and then right, that's kind of like the end of their ties in Hawaii. So that's why it's very difficult for
Mhm.
people to go back to Hawaii. And just even a trading job to do in Hawaii, it's a very small market for them to get into. And because they didn't establish and work their way there, it's very difficult for them to kind of transfer their skills to Hawaii and make it work there. But not only that, they're trading their skills that they get paid for in the mainland is probably, let's just say you're taking a pay cut to work in Hawaii, and it's more expensive to live in Hawaii.
100%.
So there's a lot of those there's a lot of those nuances that a lot of the young people have a dilemma of dealing with. And then there's some that one kid will go back and kind of hold down the fort for the rest of the family, so the family still has that opportunity to fly to back home and kind of take over their family estate kind of thing once their parents have moved on. But there's quite a few numbers of families that it's very difficult for them to relocate back to Hawaii, because one, you're taking a pay cut, and two, the cost of living is probably worse than what they experienced when they were young. So that's kind of the dilemma for young people kind of going through tour. But I don't know if you maybe is there anything else that maybe you think
The one
from other
thing,
people's experiences that
for the
people
other thing I
experience in
would
Hawaii?
add from my observation is just that nuance when you said when the children who have gone overseas, or not overseas, to the mainland, right?
Yeah.
And when the parents move on or pass on, if they don't move back, typically that home is too expensive for another young family to buy.
Yes.
So guess who ends up buying it? Rich
It's the
people from the
multi-million. Yeah.
mainland,
Yeah.
right? Who don't
Vacation
even
homes. Yeah.
live there. Yeah, exactly. They don't even live there. And so this is where it kind of gets challenging, because the political environment, right? The kind of
Yeah.
decisions that lead to that, money pit known as the rail, and some of the decisions not to increase the development of homes in the name of, oh, we're doing this to protect that. I think people don't realize the amount of corruption that's in our government now that Doge is in there, and we're seeing all the waste and the corruption. We now can really accept the fact, and we have to accept the fact, there's a real chance that the political leadership in Hawaii, they don't care that the younger generation can't live in Hawaii. They don't care that the millionaires who live on the mainland are buying these homes. And not only do they don't care, that is the design. That's what the intent is. And this video kind of goes back to this because it's just mind-boggling to observe this kind of situation here, right? Let's listen into this.
Okay.
So this is a hearing of the legislature, some kind of oversight committee with that Department of Hawaiian Homeland.
That I am making is that the department has not proven itself to be credible, reliable, and responsible on taxpayer money to give Hawaiians their leases so that they can afford to stay here in Hawaii and live on the land.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, I guess I need to restart this because I thought that
Department is stating that they are going to need $6 billion to clear the wait list.
Okay, can you believe that?
$6 billion to clear the wait list. What is that about?
That's what I'm saying. This is how ridiculous is. This is like Doge, and we need, $7 million to watch crabs. We need $1 billion to teach rap music in the Middle East. Like crazy things. You're talking about a department. What? There's 2 million people, maybe just over 2 million people live in Hawaii?
It's like 1.2, 1.3.
Okay. So 1.2, 1.3. And this department is asking for $6 billion to assign people properties and clear them their requests to have land to live on and to build on. What in the world are they spending this money on? That's ridiculous. And it'll continue here a little bit more, but they already have a budget that they haven't even gone through, and she'll go into it a little bit more, but this is kind of crazy. Because the question is, how did you get to the number that you need 6 billion? Let's just ask that question.
No, Tua, and I was gonna say, so they need a Doge in the state level, eh?
Yes. No, to really ask those questions, Masi, because now we're understanding that politicians, they're making money, they're robbing the taxpayer. They don't need 6 billion to do this work. The politicians have identified this is a way we can get 6 billion so that money can be trickled to some kind of organization that they set up, just like that Stacey Abrams, who got 1.2 billion to a shell company that she set up recently. That is exactly, I have no doubt. I haven't seen evidence. I don't have evidence for everyone that's listening, but I'm telling you, when a department in Hawaii comes and says we need $6 billion just to organize a list of people who want land to live and stay in Hawaii, something is going on. That 6 billion is not going to do that job. That 6 billion is going to people's pockets.
Yeah. No, and that's and just to add on to that, they keep throwing money because Hawaii's kind of been used to throwing money and everything. I mean, I think Hawaii of all the states probably spend the most per student in the public education, but they don't get the best result. Yeah. So it's that same mentality. Just keep asking for taxpayer money, but no positive results or outcomes.
No accountability, no real results, right?
Yeah.
So let's come back here.
You're talking about 6 billion tax-paying dollars to clear the wait list. And if what you're telling me is out of the first allocation of the $600 million, you were only able to award 1,600 leases, the
$600 million, and they've only awarded 16,000 leases.
That's crazy.
What in the world is going on over there?
Yeah. They're not even just doing mediocre work. That's just like, what are they doing? You know what I mean?
This is like Elon saying, man, this is the greatest scam on earth. Is the U.S. government, because the U.S. economy is the largest wealth production machine that we know of to date, right?
Yeah.
Like we in history, there's probably, who knows, tens of thousands of years ago, maybe there were more wealthy civilizations. We don't know. But as far as we know in recorded history, there is no economic engine like the United States. And look at how much of it is just being robbed.
Yes.
Robbed, right? What is it? The Doge found that $3 trillion were spent on a line item that they don't know where that money went. $3 trillion. And that's one example. That is like the same scale here, 6 billion for a $1.2 million or 1.2 million population island, set of islands. I mean, what do you think it's going to take? I mean, go ahead, Masi.
No, I was going to say, this is the same philosophy I've always heard, right? The retirement age used to be around 60. Then they moved it up to 65, 67, because they said there's no money. There's no money. And then, the other side of the political party just kept going with it. Yeah, it's like people are living longer, so we need to move the retirement age, and we're running out of money. But then when you get Doge to really look in at some of the wasteful spending, and I'm glad that Trump really stuck his gun. He's like, no, we're going to keep the Social Security. We're going to find out with Doge, finding out Doge, what's going to be what's going on, what are we throwing at. And then to me it just didn't make sense. As a wealthy country and we're running out of money, like what where is the money going? Now we know we're getting people who already passed away still receiving benefits. Then we're getting USA aid funding these stuff that it's not in the American interest. Then you find out, gee, and that's only one government department. He hasn't gone into the military. He hasn't gone into the Department of Education. Like there's so many stuff. We got these spendings. Like, man, maybe people should be start receiving Social Security at 50 or something. Like, to me, that's once we can if we can find out and start cutting this into all levels. This is only federal government, but even if we go to state, we'll find a lot of wasteful spending that it actually will be benefit the taxpayer will be much more benefited if they were able to cut up the cost. But like what you said, Tua, we're cutting out all this corruption. Then we have the other side who are paying these agitators to say we're cutting the necessary government, Medicare and Social Security for people. But like what Musk is saying, we're actually not cutting any of that. We're actually going to save those programs because of what their work is doing. So Hawaii, like I said, man, the way Hawaii is going, it's going to bankrupt itself. It's going to be a massive financial collapse or something. The way it's going, because if what Trump is doing right now is what Hawaii needs right now. They need a strong political will of somebody, and then not only that, you're going to need somebody like a Musk to really, because Musk is suffering especially his Tesla company. His stock is really going down. Billions of dollars, but he's because of what he's doing. But see, those are the political stuff that somebody's got to have the right skills to do it, and then you got to have a partner with the political will, and then being able to withstand. Because there's going to be people coming. There's going to be people coming for you if you're going to do those stuff in Hawaii, and then it's really needed. Because what you said to a man, it's not sustainable the way that things are going right now in Hawaii.
No, 100%. And hopefully, I mean, I don't know what it'll take for Hawaii to try something different, but we'll see. Let's have her finish off here.
All right.
Math is not mathing.
We're working with the governor's office as well as budget and finance to get it released. We spent $335 million.
Okay. So you are asking us to just blindly trust a department. Okay, we're going to get another $600 million, and this is what we are planning on doing. I need proof on what you guys have already done. And so the point that I am making is that the department has not proven itself to be credible, reliable, and responsible on taxpayer money to give Hawaiians their leases so that they can afford to stay here in Hawaii and live on the land.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. There's good. No,
I,
that's the thing too. It's going to be in the state level, right? The federal government can only do so much, but the state level has another layer of really affecting the people who live within that state a lot more um, greatly. Is man, there's got to be a real audit in Hawaii with all these governments, especially the the Department of Education, the Department of Lands, and the Department
mhm.
of Revenue in Hawaii with the tax. Like how people in Hawaii will be amazed to find out what their tax dollars have been going to, but it's not sustainable, man. It's
No,
crazy.
it's not. And as we transition to the next one, right? For your neck of the woods, this
Mm,
is not something that is uniquely just to the United States, but this is also something that's affecting our people in New Zealand as well,
mm,
right? Kind
yeah,
of kind of give the context on what the cost of living is and the impact on Polynesians living in New Zealand as well, Masi.
yeah. So for New Zealand, there's especially within the last 3 4 years, there's been a mass migration out, and there's been concerns that the skilled people within New Zealand are migrating out, especially to Australia, UK, and the US. And the people that are coming in are, people from migrant communities from like India and Philippines, and them coming with their skills. There's a big gap because they're
Hmm.
more coming for the labor, providing that labor cost, hospitality, while we're
Hmm.
losing people with the skills in management, in specialization in areas of skill. So New Zealand's losing a lot of skilled workers that way, and not only that, it's it's also affecting the infrastructure, because when you're getting people from outside of New Zealand come in, when you have a big right migration coming in, like you said, that can also drive up the cost of housing and renters. So like the average house here in Auckland is like about 800, 900,000 right now. So for people who want to stay in Auckland, who want to work in have a more variety of opportunity to work in factories or work in education. There's a lot more opportunities in the city. But if you're moving out, the only area that you're looking to work at is more in the agricultural side, and there's not a big uh, opportunity. There's not a big working force that you can go and work there, and so a lot of people don't really live outside the kind of the city areas because of the lack of opportunity. And it's the same thing like in Hawaii, when you want to get more of your skills, you go to the mainland. It's almost like for New Zealanders, the rural areas, they're all coming to Auckland to find this to work and develop their skills here, because there's a lack of education and just a diversity of industries in those areas. So a lot of them come here, drive up the cost, and it's the young people also that are leaving New Zealand. So that's kind of the dilemma. And not only that, New Zealand overall has a high cost of just energy. Uh, you know, over here it's about $2.50 a liter. It's what 4 liters equal a gallon. So you kind of do the math. You're doing 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. You're looking about $10 to $11 a gallon
And here I
here
am
in the
complaining about $4, right?
yeah. So there's that cost of living here in New Zealand overall, and there's a poor quality of there's a poor quality of health too, because the the health system hasn't been really good lately here in New Zealand. So there's a lack of the healthcare here in New Zealand. So people are finding better quality of healthcare in overseas. So there's a lot of combination of the things that are affecting New Zealand. And not only that, like right, on your one income, and you want to live in an apartment you can't afford, and then on top of that, to kind of take care of yourself, where the cost of living is very difficult. Then when you have that cost of living with food,
Mhm.
and on top of that, to enjoy life and transportation is if you want to have your own car. Because some people don't want to go public transportation their entire time. They want to have their own car and kind of do their own thing. But in order to have your car, you're looking to pay 10 to 11 bucks a
Yeah.
gallon. So those are some of the stuff that's a bit difficult here in New Zealand. Why a lot of people are actually leaving. And remember, people that are coming from India, the Philippines, when they come here to the cost of living, they can absorb it because this is still a huge, this is a
Upgrade.
positive upgrade from where they're coming from, right? So it's also the mindset. And then over here, they're like, the young people, they can't afford to do what they want to do, so they're willing to take the risk to go to a new country and kind of start all over again instead of doing it here in New Zealand.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting too because and this is also an issue that's being faced in Tonga a little bit, right? Because we watched that one video where the business people in Tonga were complaining about the foreign workers
Mm,
going overseas because the businesses in Tonga were like, we're losing the good labor, the quote unquote skilled labor that they've invested in to go overseas. And then they have a labor pool that's not as skilled or invested
yeah,
in. So this is kind of like a whole issue that's not just the US, not just in Hawaii is part of the US, but within Hawaii is the island, but in New Zealand. And I think it is all these things, I think, is one of the drivers of why the pain is getting to the point that people are somewhat willing to try new things. This is why you have a dramatic shift in the politics in the US. You're seeing a dramatic shift in the politics around the world, including New Zealand, right? In New Zealand,
mm,
they're saying it's the most far right government they've had in decades, even
mm,
though from the US perspective, it's still pretty left. But for New Zealand standards, it's pretty far right. Same things happening even in Tonga, right? There's a
mm,
shift in the government just because the pain points are pretty painful and people are expecting the government to provide solutions.
yeah,
And if they aren't, they're making changes.
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I thought that was kind of interesting. That was kind of on the top of my mind with the relocation and seeing some of these videos online. We were going to watch a video on the New Zealand flight, but I think we're going to skip it and we're going to go
Yeah.
into some social media commentary,
Let's go. Let's go.
some
Let's
questions,
go.
right? And this individual that we're going to look at here just happens to be the freshest. We're not picking on anyone. We get a lot of activity on all of the social media. We
Yeah.
are slowly marching towards 1,000 viewers on YouTube. We are slowly getting there. We'll probably break 700. Some people is like, oh, you only have 700. For me,
Oh yeah.
considering this is something we do because we enjoy as a little, side hobby. We
Yes,
we
for
we
sure.
celebrate the little things, right? And we're getting close to 2,000 on TikTok. And so today we're going to talk on a comment on TikTok
Okay.
because this seems to be something that I don't know if we'll ever be able to move on from. And I promise we're not like not trying to move on, but it just keeps coming up, right?
Hmm.
Over and over again. So let me put it this way, just like the forest fires in California, as long as there's a fire that keeps popping up, we're going to keep fighting that fire, right?
Yes.
Even
Yeah.
though it gets boring and we're tired of the fires, it's the same fire. But anyways,
Yes.
we're going to address, let me pull it up here, something that never seems to end, right? It's the tu'imanua, the never ending, never failing to just not go away. Um, it's I don't know, and we're gonna discuss this again.
Because we're dealing with years of Tui Manua Empire existing. That's why.
Exactly,
That's
right?
why.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I would highly recommend to our viewers to go and watch the episode that we did on oral history Do you remember that one, Mussy, that
Yes.
we did on oral
Yep.
history? This is exactly the kind of stuff that we're talking about, that the oral history alone provides a very shaky ground to be on,
Yeah.
right? And so this is, I'll read this. Can you see this, Mussy, at all?
Yep. Yep. I can see.
Yeah, go ahead and just read that top paragraph and kind of go into that bottom one.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there.
All right. There is little doubt. I think that Manua was the first island to be peopled, not only of this group, but also of several other groups. All tradition seems to point to that. Tui Manua, I believe, claims to be the signier. Is that how would you say that to him? Signier of
Let me see.
claims to be where it says Matua in brackets in the
Yeah,
top.
I don't know what that. Yeah, senior.
Okay,
I'm not familiar with that
signier.
word.
Okay, of all the tuis in these seas, including Tuitonga and Tuifiti. The Tongan tradition goes far to confirm this. They give the following account of the origin of Samoa and Tonga. Maui or Ti'i went to Tuimanua to beg from him a bonito hook. Tuimanua. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
So yeah, we'll pause right there real quick, right?
Mm-hmm.
We see this thing, and I want to revisit this idea that we looked at on the oral history study that was done on a pretty decent size of oral history in Ha'amoa, right? And there were three things that were drawn from that. Number one, how unstable it is to base something purely on oral history. And I didn't know this, but this is a prevalent problem in Ha'amoa. And what is this prevalent problem? The oral history and the diversity of oral history, that you have a legal system to address oral history disputes. Like this is where let's just call it an epidemic of oral history. Okay, that is so bad that you have to set up a legal system to try and navigate oral history.
Decipher which one has some more truth to it or not. Yeah,
exactly. And then in the example of the study, they gave a real life example on how fake oral history is built. And here's the example that they showed. There is a family dispute on a piece of land, right? And one person who may not have any legitimate claim to the land, but doesn't want physical conflict, but wants to position, they know that for themselves, they will never be able to have claim to the land. But in order to position their children or grandchildren to potentially lay claim on the land, they create a fake oral history. And this could be driven by politics. This could be driven by some type of monetary benefit or land benefit or social benefit that would drive such an oral history claim. So the example is this person who's going to then tell their children and their grandchildren, you know that piece of land? We are the heirs to that piece of land, but we were cheated out of it. They tell it to that generation. When the person who generated that fake oral history passes away, all of a sudden you have a next generation. That's all they know. And they now have claim to that land without physical conflict, because they don't have to go to physical conflict, because now they have a quote unquote oral history that gives them claim to that land. Then they have to go to a court system to figure out how to address the claim to the land. Okay. So when I see this, and I know the historical fact that Ha'amoa has a challenge with oral history, they even have a legal system to try and address it. Please understand that when I hear a story like this of oh, it is quite clear that all of Polynesia came from Ha'amoa. And then you go to all the Polynesian islands, very little point back to that reality. You may find one or two people. And then you go back to the evidence, archaeological evidence. There is nothing in that. I mean, this is a very weak position, but I just feel like our brothers and sisters in Ha'amoa hold on to this thing like somehow it is like gospel. And we'll go through the story itself, but kind of what are your thoughts so far on that, Masi?
No, Tua, I'm just thinking out loud when you were speaking. I'm just thinking, why does it have to go to the legal system? I'm saying, why is this not settled in the Matai Council? You know what I mean, Tua? I'm just thinking, why? Because I'm just thinking, how did they sort this out back in the days? I'm sure it was just sorted out within the village council kind of thing. But maybe, see, is the village council divided and they're not sure who's the correct one, so they have to go to the legal balangi system that is set up to give the final judgment on who's the correct oral history kind of thing.
Yeah,
I don't know. I find it very strange, and it's like what you said. It seems to be a huge issue if they have to set a legal system to make sure, okay, which this land belongs to who, to which family, because you have two different kind of families that say they have legitimacy to this land. But I'm just feeling, man, why is this not settled within the family and extended family, and then not only that, to the village council, and it's not even settled there, then they go to the overall big legal system. I don't know. I just find that
yeah.
crazy.
My initial response to that, Masi, is further evidence that there was never ever consolidated power or unified power to resolve this, right? For example, in Tonga now, who does all the land owned and unified under?
The king.
The king.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to dispute about anything, guess what? The king will decide because it's all his land.
Yeah.
But the king then delegates certain regions to his nobles, and then the nobles delegate it to the people. To me, this is further evidence Ha'amoa was never unified as a single nation under a single ruler for any meaningful period of time, because this is what happens when the premier ruler is no longer overseeing everything. Then there are squabbles and oral histories. This is what, when you watch Braveheart and the Scottish guys, right?
Yeah.
They haven't been under any consistent leadership for long periods of time. All they have is, this is my genealogy of why I'm the heir. And this guy, the next guy. But it's even worse in Ha'amoa because they're not even talking about heir, because there was never a unified heir over all of Ha'amoa, right? They're just arguing over land.
Yeah.
Right? And so to me, the reason why this squabble exists is further evidence as to why the Tu'imanua was never this all unifying power in Ha'amoa.
Okay. All right. No, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So we'll come back here and let's see if we can look at, let me try something here real quick. Okay. Because I want to look at, make sure that's not my car that's making an alarm out there. We're sitting here doing the podcast while I'm getting robbed.
Not in San Antonio. Come on.
Never. Anyways, so I'm trying to get to the comments here. Let me see if I can get to the comments because I want to show something here, right? So why am I not able to zoom out? Okay, whatever. Let's come down here. So I made a comment to this post, right?
Okay.
And I said, I will give Tu'imanua has all the stories for sure, but that's about it. Right? If you're gonna say, oh, the lay of claim is all this story that we heard from our uncle sitting in the garage who told this
Yeah.
story one time, and that's the gospel, right? And then their response was, the story about the fish hook is from Tonga, not Manua. Okay, so that's supposedly the claim that they have here is, no, this is a story from Tonga. Well, number one, who says that that one story is the one that all Tongans agree to, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Tonga is not exempt from people making up stories of oral history, making it for entertainment value, or even if you're asking the person, they could tell you a lie. Oh my goodness. I have a video we have to watch now. But any
What's the
comments of,
video?
I'm gonna,
No,
it's
no.
hilarious.
Okay. No, no, that was just my thinking that it's pretty crazy that these stories are like, especially the dispute of oral history, especially with land that's relatable to in Ha'amoa, that it's not settled within the village council. To me, that really blows my mind. So to me, they're within the village council. It's either they don't want to deal with it because one, maybe there is um, certain sides of different families, so they just leave it to a legal system to make the judgment, so they can be exempt. I don't know. I just find it interesting that village councils don't sort this out, but it makes sense why there's such huge disputes when, right, you're not in a society that was centralized power to kind of give you, okay, this person is wrong, this person is correct, settled, kind of done. But
Yeah.
it's kind of like the way of the Ha'amoa style. There's always a little chaos bit happening when you get multiple people who have um, giving different stories, kind of thing. So
Here,
to me, that's very interesting.
yes. Let me give, I'm gonna share a video, and as a disclaimer, I'm not trying to be rude, but I saw this video that's blowing up on social media right now. And I feel like this is the Tu'imanua story in a modern context. Okay.
Okay.
Let's watch this video, Masi, and see if you can see why I'm saying this is the Tu'imanua in the modern context.
How I fell for a man who wasn't even real. He lied about everything: his name, his age, his job, his family, his entire life. I was in really deep, and I'm currently pregnant with our child. I'm due in a week. But we had made plans for our future and our life together, but it was a future that was built on the foundation of all his lies. I had no idea who I was really dealing with. He created a world of fake accounts and fake people and fake stories, and was manipulating me in ways that I couldn't even see. And the lies were so fucking big that when I realized, they really rocked my entire reality. So now I'm ready to share everything, and how he's conned me, and how he gaslighted me, and how he's been doing this for years to other women. And I know you're going to wonder, how didn't I see it? Was I blind? But before you judge me, just hear me out, because this could happen to anyone, and I'm about to expose the truth. So wait for part 1 of my story coming soon. This is
Okay. Okay.
That is crazy.
Okay, Masi,
That is
it's going to
really
get
funny.
even worse. So just so people can understand, oh, just because this story, trust me, there are sophisticated storytellers out
Yeah.
there. Okay. Now we're gonna watch a longer video, because I think as we were talking about the Tuimanu, I was like, dude, this is a perfect example of how a quote unquote oral history with no concrete evidence, someone just telling a story and you just listening to it and basing your whole worldview on that, can result in this, right? So let's watch this. I mean, it's, to me, it's worth listening to.
Alright, part
Yeah.
1. The way I'm going to do this story is I'm going to take you right back to the beginning, and I'm going to tell it in the timeline of how it unfolded and how it happened for me. So we're going to go right back to the start. If you're like me and you're impatient, just do that. Like, how you can click the playback speed and like double it. Just do that so that I speak really fast and you can get through the video as quickly as possible. I'm going to try and keep
She's Tongan, by the way.
Wait, she's what?
She must be like she's Tongan. She's probably like half caste Tongan, maybe New Zealand or
Okay.
something.
Okay.
But she's Tongan. She has a video where she talks about why is the Nifocola so important to
Okay.
Tongans and stuff. So I was like, oh yeah, wait, this girl is Tongan, I guess. And the guy is a Tongan too.
Oh, where
But
did you learn?
yeah, the guy
So
is
I said
Tongan too, but told her he was Maori. Eh? This is like the Tu'imanua telling everyone, I'm the head of the empire. I'm not even Tu'itonga related. I'm the head of the empire.
He probably there's a famous phrase they always say here. He told her that I'm Tangata Whenua. I'm the people of the land.
Yes, yes.
The Maori use here.
Masi, this story gets even better. This story gets even better.
Shit.
Keep it short, but it's very hard because there's so much to the story and it's all very important, and I want you to get the full experience. You know what I mean?
Like you, yes.
Okay,
We want the
so
full experience.
I met him on a dating app at the end of 2023. I was only on the dating app for like a week and a half, but I was actively dating. I was looking for somebody to settle down with and start my life with and build a future and build a family and all the rest of it. So yeah, I met him as Marcus. He told me his name was Marcus.
Marcus
His name
Aurelius.
Marcus. He has many names actually. Paul, Paulie, they came in, Sam.
He has many names. Tu'imanua, Tangaloa, Tonga Pushifonua. Pick a name.
Man.
Pick a name. Okay? Pick a name.
Ryan, Docs, Antonio, like he went by many names. Marcus is what I knew him as. He told me he was 32 years old and that he was a civil engineer in Dubai, that he had returned to Australia.
This is the Tu'imanua who ruled. He was a civil engineer, but he never had reclaimed land. He never had structures. He never had ruins. But he was a master engineer, guys. He was a master engineer, okay?
Yeah, for Christmas holidays, and was returning to Dubai in February of 2024.
Dubai.
Like, yeah, cool, whatever. Like, I thought that was the truth. I was like, yeah, that's cool. Like, awesome. He was very knowledgeable about civil engineering.
Okay. Can you please let me know how you know he was knowledgeable about civil
That's
engineering?
the funny thing. I was like, oh, what do you know about engineering that made you think that he was knowledgeable about it? That's the funny thing.
Okay. So pause that right there, Mashi, because what you just said right there is exactly what I am feeling when we were reading this earlier. And it says, it is quite clear to me that Ha'amoa was the center, and even all the Tongans go and say the same thing. I'm like, excuse me? You're sounding, and I'm not trying to be rude to this sister of ours, right? This girl.
Yeah.
But this is exactly what they're when they say that is exactly what I'm thinking when she goes, he was very knowledgeable about civil engineering. Why? Because he said, hey, you push dirt with bulldozers, and then she's like, oh, he knows about civil engineering. I mean, come on. Right? Let's try and be at least just slow down, take a deep breath.
Yeah.
And if you thought about it, and I'm not saying that this couldn't happen to you or me. It can happen to you or me if we aren't willing to slow down and say, hey, who exactly is this? Where is she from? Right? Can I see your family?
Yeah.
And even, just little things like that. Anyways.
Yeah.
Which he studied when he was in the military. So
he
told me he was in the Australian
military
Defence Force,
man.
went in the Australian Defence Force when he was 18 years old, was shipped off by his parents, Latoya and Henrik Bennett. People with his 4 brothers. So 4 older brothers named Sam, Henrik, Edgar, and Paul. All of which are not real people. And it was believable because he had photos in his military uniform.
Datu Imanua is believable because I heard other people say Datu Imanua was the best,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And Datu Imanua did these amazing things. It was believable. Okay. Okay. She
That's
said it was
crazy.
believable because
No,
of pictures. Go ahead, Masi.
yeah, no, I was gonna say is like, man, you gotta just be a lot more in tune than just over the photos. But it's crazy. Like that's the thing, right? What you gotta be patient, and first you just gotta don't rush into things and saying like, right, like what you said to when people get into history the first time and then they say, "Oh, it's just the history of the Tuimanua being the origin of the Polynesian Empire," kind of thing. Then if you're new to especially the history of Polynesian people, you can see people falling into that very quickly and rushing into their opinion, saying, "Okay, that's true." When you just say, "Okay, that's just one idea. What's
One
some other?"
potential solution, right?
Yes, yes. And I'm just saying with this lady here, you see a photo, don't just rush your judgment. Okay, they was in the military. Just wait, and then maybe you catch some slip ups, or the thing is when you rush to things when you're not too familiar, you're gonna that's it's always better for you just to be patient and just see how things come about.
Yep. No,
Instead of
exactly.
giving a determination in your mind, oh, what he's saying is true. You know what I mean?
Move forward.
Move
No,
forward.
100%.
Which I later found out were just costumes that he had hired and that he had put on and posed in, and
No, Tua,
stories of
is it?
Ah.
What's the penalty? What's the penalty in? I know in America,
Oh, yeah. Stolen
you're not.
valor. Yeah. You
Yes,
could go
you
to
can't.
jail and fined heavily for stolen valor.
Yes, for wearing police outfit or a military outfit, right? Those are the
Yeah.
two I know that you can get in trouble. Maybe this guy was smart. He's like Australia, New Zealand. They don't do that kind of stuff. I'm gonna go with that story.
Dude, Masi, there's even a funnier story after this because it's not just her, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying the pervasiveness of certain ideas, just because everyone accepts it, doesn't mean it's reality because there's going to be another one from the guys, not the guy, this guy, but like other guys who know this guy that they had experience with him on when he was played for the Rebels, I think. He played for the Rebels and showed up. Like, let's watch the. I mean, this to me, now that we're having this conversation of the Tui Manua and it's obvious and it's this and that, calm down, take some deep breaths. Let's walk through this. Don't just jump in, right? Like you were saying.
No, I was gonna share that. It's even funny because I even had some, I served in Samoa, and I had some companions too would tell some funny stories of them saying that they before they went on their mission, they had a contract in front of them to play rugby professionally, and then they had to choose which one, and then they said, "Oh, I'm gonna put the rugby contract away and go serve my mission." And then, like, I'm just thinking, okay, yeah, if that's what they're, and then I find out,
Possible, you
yeah,
know?
possible. I'm just like, well, let me tell you stories. This is over a meal, and then like when I had a different companion, and then I went and met some other people who know this person much more, much more like closely. Find out that this person never played rugby. He didn't really like into sports. No, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like, see, thank goodness I didn't like. I just kind of let it hear it, and then I didn't do it. Thank goodness I didn't jump in the wagon, and people were asking, "Oh, really, really? That's true. That's true."
So
But I'm just saying that man, I've heard these kind of stories before.
no, and this is the thing, Masi, like you're saying, right? This is why when they say, oh, some one Tongan, I don't care if he was a noble or a tuitonga, whatever. How do we know he wasn't just telling a good story?
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
A
Because
good
when we
a
were
good
younger, we
Pampanga
would do
story.
the
A
same
good
thing
Pampanga
too, right?
story. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Somebody asks you, hey, what's your name? Oh, my name's Jack.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Just
yeah.
because why do I need to tell you my name? I don't know you.
Mm.
You don't know me. Now if we hang around long enough, I'll be like, oh, hey, my name's Tua.
Mm,
That's actually, we were just messing around earlier. So
mm,
forgive me when I see some of this evidence that Tatu Imanua was the center of the empire, and it's just one story that one guy heard and another guy heard, and then just by chance a palangi happened to write down.
yeah.
Please forgive me if I say, is this Marcus Aurelius who went
Mm,
to Dubai kind of situation or what? Like I'm sorry if
mm,
I just don't buy into it. Now, if Marcus Aurelius he shows up or takes me to Dubai or whatever. I see him on CNN or what. Okay, maybe, right? Maybe we're taking this a little seriously, but please forgive me if I don't jump in all the way like this sister right here, and go from there. But yeah, let's finish this video, Vasi, and then we'll watch the other one too.
All right.
He knew he was studying to be a pilot, so he was in the Air Force, Australia.
Let me start. I know I said let's finish it, but when the guy is a civil engineer, he went to the army, he's a pilot, he went to Dubai, his parents sent him there. Siana, 007? Oh yeah, even 007, you have to be alive for like 200 years to have all those skill sets.
And forgive me for all the people who are from this village, but this guy sounds matai ngedeiya. Matai ngedeiya style, man. Shit, so professional.
I mean, man, this guy's amazing. Maybe he's Tatu Imanua or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Air Force, apparently. But he had stories, about his time there and about his job in Dubai. So
he had stories.
I had no reason to think that he was lying about all of this. Yeah, he told me his parents were Latoya and Henrik Bennett, that they lived in Sanford. And yeah, we started dating. Like, I wasn't super interested in him at the start. He wasn't really the type of guy I would usually go for. I've never dated an Islander guy before. I never go for them. I stay away from them because.
And yeah, you should have stayed away.
Yeah, you should have. When it came to go on your principle, you should have stuck to it. You fell away from your principle.
See? Yeah, when it sounds too good to be true, it might be too good to be true.
Till we went on a few dates and that we had a conversation around like emotional mental maturity and I am like a deep and meaningful kind of person. I am not for small talk. I like deep and meaningful stuff. So when we connected on that level and we shared, what our expectations are in a relationship and what failed in past relationships that we did, and when we connected on that level, I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like, it seems like a very genuine connection. I don't know where to go from here. Hang on.
Anyways, what are your current thoughts? And then I'm going to pull up in the background this other video.
Hey, like they always say, in everything in life, you always take people's good intention, but it always helps to just be when you wait to always verification, always take a good faith, and when people tell you a good you always give them the doubt, but at the same time, always wait to verify. Verification is a
trust but verify.
Yes, trust but verify. Have faith, but and a good give them the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, always verify everything they say. And doesn't mean you have to do it right then and there, just over time, but just don't show all your
rush.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's sad because this person looks like it reminds me of sometimes I don't know. Sometimes women are like that a little bit, they can, and it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing right? But you can always get the people with bad intention that can figure out, oh, this person is very into, when they want to find a deep
gullible.
And connect, gullible, and they give you, it's like, oh man, gotta be very careful. Very careful. And it seems like she was a good lady and good everything. It's just, man, you just met with the person with a bad intention.
You met a guy who can give you a really good oral history. Yeah? And you didn't give
you the proof that's
been
fabricated.
Yes. This is someone who gave you really good oral history, but didn't have any ruins to, and not enough other people.
And it was
to justify it.
Not a real ruin, but he has pictures of this ruin that was built.
Yes.
Built recently in 2023.
Yeah. Nobody ever saw the Tu'imanua's ruins, but they heard. Everyone heard.
Yes.
The great navigational skills, but nobody saw it, but they heard it.
Heard.
So, I mean, and just to come back to this, this is not just this sister either, right? There are other people who fall to this, but the difference between the young lady's experience versus this guy's experience, there was a requirement to deliver the goods, and the guy didn't deliver the goods, right? Like he did not deliver the goods. So let's listen to this guy. So this is a podcast. They're talking about this guy, right? So let's listen to this.
I rugby with him. Paulie Hello, aka Paulie Docs.
Hilarious. This could be a hilarious one from the guys who know the guy perspective, man.
Oh, dude, and this is pretty hilarious, right? Mika Lociale says, "Oh, you the guy who has all the upi pits?" Exactly. And this is directly tied to the Tu'imanua. Right? All the oral history said these are where the great believers, loyal, wanted to be buried next to the Tu'imanua. They go to deliver the goods and ufi pits. And this is like this guy, like Mr. Bennett, who was from Dubai, right? The difference is in this story, Mr. Bennett had to deliver the goods, right? He had to deliver the goods, and this guy wasn't. This is where he got exposed.
AKA Marcus, AKA Paulie Bennett, AKA Reese Bennett, AKA a fair few other names. Walking through it. Isaac, when he had hair, used to go and see this barber, and fuck, mate, he used to talk him up every week. Oh, mate,
like the guys on your mission.
Fucking, you know, all these ones, like how good he is. Oh, I thought I was going to get replaced as the best friend for a minute there. Anyway, she's going to meet him, man. He paid for the Rebels. He's this, he's that.
For the Rebels.
You know, mate. Get his nuts out of your mouth, mate. Anyway, fast forward. I think it was Queensland Tonga time. He gets an invite telling everyone that he's made Melbourne Rebels.
Look at that. I think this is right after he got out of the Australian Air Force. Right? Like that hairstyle is because the headgear for the pilots. that you need that hair to hold the headgear on when the pilots are flying in Abu Dhabi.
This is his experience, His experience.
Man, look at that. It's like, so here he is, even this guy, right? Like he goes to the barber. Barber's telling him, man, you got to meet this guy. Yeah. He's amazing. And this guy's like, oh my gosh, man, I might lose my spot on the team to this guy, you know?
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, fuck, man, he looks the goods. Jacked, tight kit, all decked in Rebels, telling us he's playing Rebels.
All the Rebel gear, right? All the Rebel gear. It's like the pictures in the military with the girl.
Yeah.
So this guy's figured it out. Like I can tell a good oral history.
Yeah, and you might not get everybody, but if you get a few, that's your meal ticket for that
exactly
for a year or a couple years until you find the next vulnerable person.
Oh yeah, wait.
Shit, yeah.
Rebels, by the way, all the kit, including the bag. Like, okay, fair enough. You look the part. We start training. A little bit of contact comes up. I tell you what, boys, Boeing need to study this bloke because these planes, when they're coming in at a rate of knots, they need a good fucking handbrake. They need to go study this bloke. Because I'll tell you what, when there's a bit of concrete, he had absolutely no balls on him. He had no go on him. It was fucking like a 1997 Kia Carnival, this bloke. He had absolutely no go on him. Hey.
See the difference?
Yeah.
When you have to produce the goods, this is why ruins are critical. Don't just jump all in on this, you know?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And just with the oral story mixed with your ruins are your physical evidence that can't be moved. No one can argue that this is in here and this location. Like
you can
the ruins really solidify your oral argument or history kind of thing. So that's right. That's just kind of like this guy. He gave a good story, all the decorations, everything, all good. He even He even provided all the uniform of the Reds outfit, right? Even the bag, like this guy would say, came to actually produce. If you see, if you lived up to it, no action, no the evidence are crumbling in front of you. So, yeah, that's funny.
Ay.
And now we're just seeing on TikTok one, this poor girl's been up the duck line. Swindled. Turns out he's up to 6 kids we know about. Oh,
6 kids. Yeah.
Oh man.
This guy, he knows how to tell a good story, and he knows the type of mentality and personalities that will buy into that story.
Yes.
You know, so he's smart for all the wrong reasons. But crazy. So apparently homeboy has 6 kids at least and counting.
Oh yeah.
I'm invested, mate. I'm down the rabbit hole, mate. I'm in the rabbit. We're in the trenches together. I didn't even know this bird, and she thought he was Māori. He's fucking Tongan. She's Tongan. Cousins.
No, and that's the funny thing is, right? You told me that she's, they're saying she's Tongan. She couldn't even figure out that he was Tongan too. It's like, come on, man. That's the kind of people he's looking for. People who just a little bit don't know maybe what the world is like or whatever. That's crazy that she fell into that, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
So I sent Sione some links before. Let's get him exposed. I reckon we get him in 60 minutes. We'll make a doco. All you got to do is ring up your uncle and ask where his son is. No shit, it's actually Sonny's cousin.
Oh shit. Oh man. Keep an eye out, ladies and gentlemen, and even Melbourne Rebel Scouts if he's still out and about.
This fella.
Anyways.
Tua, so what? Is he just vanished? He just vanished from this girl. He's like no trace. The girl can't find this guy.
Probably because you can only live that life for so long. Right? Yeah. I mean, and this is, I know we're just trying to have a good time and we're laughing at this, but in a more serious note, this is what happens when a bad idea gets challenged. It tends to disappear. Yeah. This is why we need to have more discussions on these things, because every time we dig in to some of these bad ideas, these bad oral history, we find out, oh, this is where the loyal people lived. Okay, let's dig and find out the loyal people. Oofy pits. Oh,
not even human beings.
Exactly. Ruled over thousands of years, recognized throughout the Polynesian as an empire. Study their ruins. Oh, they're only 400 or 500 years old. Right? Very young. So, these are the kind of things. And yet, we come back to what's this gentleman's name here? Real Nesian history. Histor. And this is the kind of stuff that's being pulled out there. Right? I find it. Well, I guess I'm not showing it as clearly as I can. Let's switch the view here. Real Nesian history, right? And then this is the family tree that's being shown right here, right? Ha'amoa comes from there, and Tonga and Uvea come from here. And this is basically Mr. Bennett right here at the top. Mr. Bennett, who went to Dubai and Air Force, played for the rebels.
Civil engineer.
Yeah. Civil engineer, very knowledgeable in civil engineering. He had some stories. He even had pictures. Right? And then we come to the story itself, right? I don't know. And then I want to talk about the story itself real quick, Masi, but any thoughts on that before we come back to this to look at the story?
No, like we kind of mentioned too, right? Oral history, it's you take oral history and you just take it as okay, that's one idea. But what strengthens oral history is your archaeological evidence. You combine those two, you have a solid foundation to kind of work towards from there to the next step of discovering the origin of a people. So, oral history is it's almost like we kind of talked about it too. It gives you an understanding of why this archaeological evidence exists. It gives a story, and that's what people can connect with. It's a lot more
Yes.
relatable than just a, physical structure just
Stone.
sitting. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%. Right. And I think just gotta be wise, guys. I mean, a
Mm.
lot of oral history, a lot of stories out there. You can listen to it, entertain it, but don't rush in and you know give everything to this oral history. Just
Yeah.
be patient. So
Yeah.
let's look at this quote unquote oral history that proves Ha'amoa is the origin, and it goes forth. So it says here, Tu'imanua was away from home, and his
Hmm.
wife received Maui all too kindly in her husband's absence. You know what this already sounds to me like, Masi?
What?
This sounds like a kava story in Nakalapu. This like let's just think about it. If
Mm,
you are the most powerful chief in the
mm,
world, you think a potential rival or someone is just going to come in and the spouse is
receive.
going to
Yeah.
receive it? And then it gets even weirder, right? The spouse, like it says here, she is and his wife received Maui all too kindly in her
Mm,
husband's. This sounds like a Kalapu story. This sounds like a story of infidelity, right?
mm,
Like that's what it
mm,
sounds like to me.
mm,
This doesn't sound like significant rooted oral history. And it goes even further than that. It says she one day asked him what he came for, and he told her. She then said, when Tu'imanua comes, he will offer you a bright hook, right? But don't
mhm,
take it. He will then offer another and another, but you must refuse them all and ask for that old hook there, which is lying in the eaves of the house, right? All
mhm.
this took place just as she said, and in due time, Maui went away with his hook. Tu'imanua's wife, however, was now pregnant to him. Oh, interesting. This
Mhm.
is Does this sound like an oral history of an all-powerful deal here?
Personal history. This is
Yeah.
personal history.
This sounds like oral history that needs to be settled in the oral history court, not to be accepted as historical fact. So before he left, he told her that if the child should be a son, she should call him Tonga. He then came down here to Samoa and fished up these islands. But just as he had done so, he had to flee from Tu'imanua, whose wrath was kindled on discovering his wife's unfaithfulness. Maui then fished up Tonga, and having heard of the birth of a son, he called the islands after him. And as a proof of his love, he made Tonga all level and smooth for him. Wow.
Idea.
Interesting.
Very
He would
interesting.
perhaps have done the same for Samoa if Tu'imanua had not been so angry against him. Okay. Like I said,
This is too funny, man.
I can't take this seriously.
Yeah.
And this is the origin of Samoa and Tonga from the Tu'imanua. I don't know. Okay. So I apologize if comes across a little too rash, but can't take this seriously.
Mm.
Any closing thoughts, Mussy?
Nope. Just with all our viewership, like always, like we kind of always end it with two, right? Be curious. When you're curious, you're gonna receive a crazy information here and there, and other researchers, what people heard here and there. But ask the hard question.
That's the hard
Why?
question.
Ask the hard question of why. What if this exists? Then what's the archaeological findings, or what's some of the carbon dating? Like these are some of the hard questions you got to ask for to kind of verify if that oral history has some standing or not. So that's just kind of my closing topic here for everyone. Always verify. You always hear and get everyone's story come in, but always verify and ask the hard question. when you ask the hard question, doesn't mean that you don't agree with that person. You're just trying to find some valid points in their story. So that's just me, Tua. I don't know if you had anything else, but
No, 100%. We believe in having ideas compete, right? When you're asking the hard questions, right? When you're being bold, you're being patient. Just because an idea sounds good and looks good, just because the idea said they are a civil engineer, went to Dubai, were in the Australian Air Force, right? Played on the rebels, you'd be like, oh, okay. Ask the questions. Okay, so if you have done all these things, how come you're not married already? Right? How come you came by yourself on vacation when you're successful, your parents are successful, siblings, friends, you're here by like just be a
those
little
very
patient and a few questions, can go a long way. Just like the Tuimanua, just like the Tuitonga, we're not saying, oh, every oral history you hear about the Tuitonga is accurate either. No.
Yeah.
Be bold, ask the tough questions, and I like what you said, Masi. Be patient, right? It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. But once again, appreciate everyone's time, appreciate the questions and the comments, appreciate your time, Masi. And as always, till next time, peace.
See ya.